meeting on May 15th. And at this time, I'd like to call to order the regular city council meeting for May 15th. And the time is now 6 o'clock.
Yeah.
So I'd like to welcome Pastor Tim Meekirk. Come on up, my Pastor Tim. To lead us in our invocation, and the pledges will be with Chief Joe Sikora.
Mayor, thanks for the privilege of being able to come and see things. So it's a privilege to be part of a community where we still get to open in prayer. So I'm honored to be able to do this. Father God, we thank and praise you for the privilege of being able to gather together in this place. It's a reminder to us that there's a God and we are not him. And so we're so grateful for who you are, who you've created us to be. We thank you for this world that you've entrusted us with. And the opportunity to be able to be a part of city government is always a real privilege and an honor. God, thank you for the people that are in front of me that have given their time and have been elected or are serving in paid positions to be able to help our city do the best that it can with the resources that it has to make a difference for our citizens. God, thank you for the people that are behind me that continue to serve and are the citizens of this community and desire to make this the best place that it can be. Most of all, God, I thank you that we're a part of a community that still calls on you, reminds ourselves that everything that we have has been entrusted to us, steward the best of our abilities to bring you glory and honor. To that end, God, we give this meeting into your hands in the name of the Father and the Son and the Holy Spirit. Amen. Amen.
Thank you, Pastor.
Please join me in the pledges to the flag.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Texas flag.
Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to the Texas, one state under God, one religion.
Thank you, Chief. At this time, before we go into our public comment period, I have asked our attorney, Lauren Smith, to review the rules on the 3-minute speaking that
Certainly,
we can do.
as the mayor had asked, I'm gonna go over the rules. Everybody gets one chance to speak. That chance will be 3 minutes and you don't get to come back up after you're done. And we ask you to very kindly respect those rules. Thank you.
All right, and that's because I probably have done it wrong in the past. So I said, okay, thank you for making that clear. So now it's public comments and receipt of petitions. At this time, anyone will be allowed to speak on any matter other than personnel matters or matters under litigation for a length of time not to exceed 3 minutes. No council board discussion or action or questions may take place on a matter until it has been placed on the agenda and posted in accordance with the law. Tracy, do we have anyone signed up to speak?
I have 2 individuals. One is, I'm going to read an email that I received this afternoon asking that it be read during the council meeting. Says, hello, Tracy. I have questions regarding the subject matter of tonight's public meeting concerning the proposed electric storage system that I would like council to read and address. The questions are exactly what would be stored there? Will it be batteries, lithium ion batteries, other? 2, what would be the risk levels, safety concerns, and any benefit it could provide to residents? And would that benefit outweigh the potential risks? And what studies and examples are you basing your risk assessment on? There have been several harmful fires and explosions of extremely toxic gases at several electric storage facilities around the country, specifically those that store lithium ion batteries. What entity has done a risk assessment of the proposed ESS? 4, what would be responsible for containing any explosions or leaks that occurred, and who would be responsible for any potential damage to homes or people that occurred as a result? Comment, this is a heavily wooded area with many species of wildlife and many homes within the aforementioned boundaries. Thank you, Becky Nelson. The second request to speak is from Tom Weatherford, and he is here.
Mr. Weatherford, please come forward and state your name and address, and you will have 3 minutes.
Tracy, can you give us the address of Becky Nelson, please?
They did not provide me an address. They just provided me with an email address.
Yeah, thank you, ma'am.
Weatherford, 20203 Mahogany Ridge Drive, beautiful Magnolia, Texas. I'm here on behalf of the Greater Tomball Pickleball Association. We have two courts over at Jurgens Park that we utilize all the time. I was recently at an open house conducted by Drew Huffman about the future of parks in the Tomball area. And at that, I believe it was Dane came up and introduced himself, and we had a brief discussion. And I asked about striping the tennis courts over at Matheson Park. And he said the tennis players don't like having pickleball court lines on their tennis courts. And I said, yeah, I don't want to upset the two people that play tennis over there, being a bit of a nice guy. And I said I was contemplating putting up game cams at the pickleball courts and at the tennis courts, so I could show the utilization variance between those two facilities. And he suggested I do that. And I come to this meeting and present what I found. I'm only going to give 7 dates that I actually took pictures of the pickleball courts, walked across the street, took pictures of the tennis courts, and the numbers are as follows. Pickleball 22, tennis court 4, pickleball 14, tennis court 0, 15, 4, 16, 2, 14, 6, 16, 3, 18, 1, 14, 0. And this is typically what the utilization rate is of the pickleball courts at Jurgens Park versus the tennis courts right across the street in Madison. Those 4 tennis courts, you could stripe and put 8 pickleball, which I would guarantee would be utilized. A lot of us have our own portable nets. We would bring our own nets and set them up. Other places, they put a job box. The county or the city provides courts. They have a lock combination. They give it to certain people so they can open up, set up the nets, and they can play. Pickleball is growing. My friend over here, Chris Lord Templo Nuevo, is organizing a pickleball tournament. It'll be a first for the city of Tomball. I believe the plan is to temporarily strike the tennis courts for that tournament, maybe tape them, which for not that much money, we could actually paint stripes on those tennis courts and we could utilize them all the time. Pickleball is growing. It's one of the few sports where you can have, and we have this at Jurgens Park all the time. We have teenagers playing people 70 years old. So it's across the entire spectrum of the community that goes and enjoys the use of this. Please consider it in the future, in the very near future. Drew's pickleball courts he's building over there are going to be finished. I won't hold you to it. Starting soon, hopefully this year. But in the meantime, we certainly could use the additional courts if we would just put stripes on the schools. So,
Thank you.
very much.
Thank you very much.
Did I have that?
30 seconds.
Good job. Thank you.
Thank you.
Is there anyone who was not signed up to speak who would like to get up and speak on any issue for 3 minutes? Okay, hi. Becky, come on up and name and address, please. Thank you.
I'm Becky Nelson. I'm not gonna give you my address, but I would like to know when. and if-
Whoa.
You have to give us an address.
103 Covington Court.
Okay.
And I would just like to know when we might get the answers to the questions that. In this context tonight.
Legal counsel.
Yes.
This is on the agenda tonight.
It is on the agenda.
What is on the?
We can do our best to answer those questions at that time. It's on the agenda.
It's related to an agenda item?
I believe it's related to one of the zoning ordinance, the battery storage. Yes.
Yeah.
correct.
Oh. All right,
Okay, that was
Yes.
my only question.
okay. Thank you. Anyone else? All right, at this time, we will close the public comments and receipts of petition, and we will now canvass the election. Tracy?
Mayor and council, this is the official canvas of the election for both position 1 and position 5 for council positions. And although a council approved the resolution back in March 2023-14, which allowed us to cancel the general election since candidates were both running unopposed. This is the official canvas declaring both Councilman Ford and Councilman Parr as re-elected.
Okay. Thank you. Next item is the administer oath of office to elected officials. The official oath was already administered to both councilmen in private session. But we also have a public convocation, so if you would like to bring your families up and publicly have the oath administered, please do. Councilman Ford, your lovely wife Peggy. Just, would you like to come and stand with them? And I think Tracy will be delivering the oath. Any other family members? Anybody else that you would like to have come up? Okay. Or your chickens, no chickens.
Okay, you're gonna repeat after me.
Okay.
And in the name and by the authority of the state of Texas,
In the name and by the authority of the state of Texas,
I, John F. Ford,
I, John F. Ford,
do solemnly swear or affirm
do solemnly swear or affirm
that I will faithfully execute
that I will faithfully
the
execute
duties of the office
the duties of the office
of City of
Commonwealth
Council Position 1,
Council Position 1,
Harris County
Harris County,
of the state of Texas,
of the state of Texas,
and will to the best of my ability
and will to the best of my abilities
preserve, protect,
preserve, protect,
and
And
defend
defend
the Constitution
the Constitution
and laws
and laws
of the United States,
of the United States,
of this state,
of this state,
so help me God.
so help me God.
Congratulations. Okay, Councilman Parr. Later.
I'm good.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you. Okay, next item is the consideration to elect Mayor Pro Tem in accordance with section 6.08 of the City of Tomball Home Rule Charter. Is there a motion to recommend Mayor
Mayor,
Pro Tem?
I'd like to nominate Dane Dunnigan for the position, please.
Okay. Do I have a second?
I would like to nominate Derek Townsend.
Okay.
And I second that.
No, you don't need a second.
No, okay.
Second.
But we'll have to vote.
You have to vote.
I'll have to vote. Okay. Is there any discussion? Nope. Okay, then let's call for the vote. Derek Townsend has been nominated and Dane Dunnigan.
So we'll have to go one at a time.
Mhm.
I was gonna say, how we'll go.
That's fine.
Who votes for Dane Dunnigan?
Okay. So do I vote?
You do not,
Only if there's a tie?
only if there's a time.
Okay. So.
John Ford
hmm,
for Dane Dunnigan, like how do you want?
I guess what we'll do,
We could do it-
You want me
about
to
roll
vote?
call.
Yeah, we could do it by hand or whatever.
Okay, so discussion, we will call for the vote. We'll take a roll call vote. This is a vote for Dane Dunnigan as Mayor Pro Tem. John,
Nay.
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 Aye.
okay. So Dane was not elected Mayor Pro Tem,
Correct.
and now to vote for Derek Townsend to be Mayor Pro Tem.
Aye.
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 Nay, okay. All right, Derek Townsend has been elected Mayor Pro Tem.
Congratulations, bud. Thank y'all. Thank y'all.
Next item. Next item is we have a special treat for y'all today. If you would gaze up at the monitors that are here at City Council. And I'd like for you to watch the monitors. I would like the members and the parents and coach of the state team in this competition to come up. I don't know how many of you have ever tried to twirl a baton or throw a flag, and they're all doing it at the same time, everything throwing at the same time. How hard this sport is. It is not as it's not a UIL sanctioned competition yet. So they don't get the accolades that a lot of our sports teams do. But this team, there's 21 divisions that can be competed in. They are state award in our division. But also their score among the judges was the highest in the state of Texas of all schools in all 22 divisions. And would you like to introduce your team and you are the coach?
Yeah, so hi, my name is Connor. I'm from the color guard director here at Carmel High School. So we have a couple members from both the JV and the varsity team. Here we have Bella Harris, Colton Sanders, Javon Ventress. We have Cheyenne Hillgrant, Emily Nava, Mia Alton. Sorry, I'm doing this quick as like Mia Alton, and we have Angela Lee, And we have Katie McDonald. All right, there we go. That's my party trick.
On behalf of the city council and the city, we would like to present you with a proclamation for you to frame in your hall. And I understand that because this is kind of the initial year, well, you competed in the past, but this year was outstanding in what your efforts and determinations have produced. And has really built the flag corps at Tomball High School that more people want to join. And now these kids are training freshmen, and many of you were freshmen, right? So this is for the next 4 years, we'll have them, and it will go on, and we're very excited. Thank you. The proclamation is whereas the Tomball High School Color Guard won first place in area championships and took home the gold medal with the highest score among the 21 groups that advanced to state finals from area competition. This is the second consecutive gold medal for the program. Last year in the SRA class and this year in the next division, the SAA class, which is assuming higher and higher competition. The program celebrated a top 3 placement for the JV Guard at area championship as well. This season, the Tomball High School Color Guard program as a whole scored in the top 3 of their respective JV and varsity divisions 7 times in competition. Whereas the city of Tomball and the Tomball community would like to recognize this great accomplishment and congratulate Tomball High School Color Guard. Now therefore, I, Lori Klein Quinn, Mayor of the city of Tomball, do hereby proclaim Monday, May 15th, 2023 as Tomball High School Color Guard Day. Congratulations to you too. And there is your consultant. We also wanted to mention another accolade to a member of this group. I don't know how many of you know that we have a art contest, congressional federal art contest in 400 districts in the United States. Every district has a winner of the art contest, and their art will be displayed at the Capitol for a year. They will be honored in DC at the end of June. And one of these members entered the art contest, which is Katie McDonald, and she won first place. She lives in Congressman Luttrell's, the Martin Luttrell district, and then also Congressman for our district. It was at Klein High School, I think, for Memorial High. So, but Tomball was represented well in DC.
Wow.
We're gonna go around and let council thank you also. Start right where you were, just turn around. All right. And it's fine.
It's all right. Just correct.
There we go. Great.
There.
Awesome. Follow me, kids.
Great.
Thank you.
Congratulations. Good job. Congratulations. Good job. Congratulations. Congratulations. Young lady. Congratulations. 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 Good job. Congratulations. 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 I love your artwork. I'm like you. Apparently you do now.
I want the building with reflection.
Hey. Thank you. Oh, there's empty chairs now. Okay. Announcements. Next item is announcements. Kid Club dates. June 9th, soccer clinic, June 14th, reptile show and tell. The events are on our city website. There are quite a few, but I'll just hit some of the dates. August 11 is Learn About Emergency Vehicles and Splash Day. All that's in our Kid Club program this summer. Swim season, Monday closed, Tuesday through Friday, 10 to 6. Preseason hours, regular season hours, end of season hours. The pool will be open to the public on Memorial Day weekend and will be open to the public on Memorial Day. The pool will be open to the public on Labor Day. And then the Depot Splash Pad opens May 26, 2023. All of this is on our city website. It's also on Tomball Texan for Funds website. So if you're any questions about when things are open or closed, please go to our websites. The next item is new business consent agenda. All matters listed under consent agenda are considered to be routine and will be enacted by one motion. There will be no separate discussion of these items. If discussion is desired, the item in question will be removed from the consent agenda and will be considered separately. Information concerning consent agenda is available for public review. Are there any items that need to be removed from the business consent agenda? Okay, then let's call for the vote. Oh, I'm sorry. Let's have a motion first.
So moved. Second.
Okay, then let's call for the vote.
Motion carries unanimously.
Next items are new business and we will be considered items in different order than is on your agenda. But the items were still posted in accordance to the Open Meetings Act. So the next item, consideration to approve, it's item 3, zoning case Z 23-03. Request by Chris and Tiona Campbell to amend chapter 50 of the Tomball Code of Ordinances by rezoning acres of land described as lot 48 in Tomball Town Site. So Nathan, will you tell us about this?
Yes, ma'am. Mayor, Council, Nathan Dietrich for the Community Development Department. I'm here to present to you this zoning amendment case. Changing lots, this particular lot, this 5-acre, approximately 5-acre lot from single family 20, which is our estate zoning category to generally retail. As you can see on this this particular side is the general location of where this parcel resides, which is just north of the intersection of Rudolph and East Huffsmith. Again, the property is about 4.94 acres located in 11,100 and 11,200 blocks of Rudolph Road. And the property has been within the city limits of Tomball since our inauguration in 1907 and has remained vacant since then. The request again is to change from SF20 to general retail in order to be able to operate one of the applicant's commercial business of exterminator services at the property. In addition to this exterminator service, the applicants are seeking a conditional use permit, which will immediately follow this particular item. Which would be to allow for residential use to occur within a general retail district. Here are some site photos. As you can see in the top left side of the page is the subject property, heavily wooded. It is vacant. Again, some of the surrounding properties, again to the top right hand is to the north property, a vacant property. To the south, there is some other usage that is happening along this road, some to be single family residential in nature, and to the west. As you can see, our zoning map, as previously stated, is that it's a single family residential 20, which means that only lots that are at least half acre in size could be approved in this particular zoning district. And this zoning has been with the since the adoption of zoning in 2000. With the next slide shows just a kind of a larger scale of for what other zoning occurs around here. And staff wanted to note that some of the historic zoning that has occurred in the area. As you can see, the majority of it is all SF20 zone, which is that kind of the beige, light beige color that you see there. But there is also some other approved zoning changes that have occurred over the years. One being a conditional use permit, which is the property in question is highlighted in with a black border and a hash mark right in the center of the screen. This other conditional use permit is up to the left of that, to the northwest of there. That was for a music, dance, and gymnastics studio. It existed prior to 2008, but they have since then attempted to rezone to commercial and general retail, and both have been denied by city council when that occurred. But they were approved to have a conditional use permit. As you can see, almost to the south and to the west of them in the pink color, you can see a rezoning that happened in 2011. This use was also pre-existing the adoption of the zoning in 2008. There was a commercial a zone change at the northwest corner of Rudolph and Hussman for commercial zoning was adopted back in just right at 2008. And there was also another general retail zoning district with a conditional use permit, which you can see in the red south of that property with a blue hatch mark, and that was that undergone multiple zoning requests since 2011. The future land use map here shows that the majority of the properties that are immediately adjacent and to the north and to the south are all designated as ranch, rural, and estates for our future land use plan designation. This land use category is intended to create ranch-like atmospheres and defined as being an abundance of natural landscape and may include agricultural enterprises. Land uses that should consist of large lot residential, conservation subdivisions, and agricultural enterprises. The built environment should be completed by large amounts of green space and mature woods and pasture. Secondary uses include bed and breakfast lodging, small professions, cottage industries, and accessory dwelling units. And moving to the next slide. This is a concept rendering of if the change were to occur and they were to allow general retail at this particular property, this would be the business itself that would be closest to the right of way along Rudolph. And again, this is just some other close-up shots of what that rendering would look like. And I guess the rendering on the left or on the right would be another storage structure that would occur in the center of the parcel itself. Here's just a survey of where the locations of those particular structures will be on the property. And moving on to that notification map, which we send to 300 with folks or properties within 300 feet of this. There was one response, and that came from that's indicated on the map with a green dot over there to the northwest, which was in approval to
What property's that?
change to general retail from.
Oh, I don't want those guys.
When city staff presented this to Planning and Zoning Commission, they recommended denial of this case. And due to due to these reasons, is that the request to rezone the subject property to general retail in direct conflict with the goals and objectives of the comprehensive.
You're saying so that that guy doesn't own that building?
Designated ranch and rural estate land use category identified in our future. This land use rule and category is intended to promote large lot residential and agricultural land uses. The zoning were to be approved, it would create what is considered to be a spot zoning situation on a general retail property, which is generally surrounded by existing residential zoning and zoning land uses. Spot zoning is when a particular property receives a zoning designation, which is drastically different from the zoning which is applicable to the surrounding properties within the immediate vicinity. The land use, planning, and the practice of spot zoning is generally considered inappropriate. So with city staff presenting their recommendation to planning and zoning voted in turn to also deny the request. However, there was 1 vote for yay and 4 votes nay. Happy to answer any questions you have.
Okay. Thank you. The next item on this zoning case Z 2303 is the conduct the public hearing. It is now 6:37 p.m. and we will open the public hearing. Is there anyone wishing to speak on this item? Please come up and give your name and address, and you have 3 minutes.
Can you hear me? My name's Tiana Campbell. We live in Spring. Chris Campbell is behind me, my husband, 19611 Glenfinch Lane in Spring, Texas. I'm just gonna do a short summary of our family and what we want to do in Tomball. As you said earlier, we want to be a part of the community. We love Tomball. I grew up in a small town in East Texas, and my grandfather ran an AC business. It was part of the Christmas parade, so we did your Christmas parade like 2 years ago. Love the city, so we fell in love with it and bought about 5 acres, as you heard earlier from the gentleman. And yes, we would love to build our business that has classics trucks. It's a 3rd generational company that my husband has been a part of and grew up in his grandfather's business since he was a little bit like 10. My husband and I have been married for 20 years. I help him run the business, and we have 3 kids. 1's still at home and 2 graduated. They are graduating from Klein High School, and Adley graduates from, she's graduating from Klein. Anyways, they all graduated from Klein area. But I just wanted to give you a little run down of our family and what we want to bring to the community with our classic trucks. We already service several people in the community, even Rebar Cafe. We love that cafe. So Chris, I'm gonna let him take over and go over a little bit more about the property and what we want to do.
Hi, Chris Campbell. Like my wife said, we just want to be a part of this community. We love the area. I think part of this may have filled it out longer. I was invited wrong. I think what I need to do is just ask for a text amendment for the property. We just want to put our home office in front, or our office, but it's a private office. We won't have retail, we won't have foot traffic. And then we just want to build our home to the back of it. I mean, what a great commute, right? You just walk to work every day. So I think the main thing is
We have some pictures to show y'all, just some of the classic trucks and our services, our technicians, just to give you a little summary. I have copies, but if you faster, I just pass this out.
Yes, sir. Yes, I will do that in the
And
interest of time.
yeah, that y'all, you can just look it over. I have about 9, so y'all can figure. Okay, thank you. Would you like one? Yeah, just here. Okay. Thank you. Yeah.
my trucks are, and our view is classic trucks. All of the trucks are turning into classic vehicles. We did the Tomball Christmas parade. We loved it. Up on the screen now, you can see where there was a bunch of properties in our same region that have been changed, adapted in some way so they can run the business. So our property sets where the red dot is, and surrounding us in this area, there's 6 different companies that are being ran as businesses. One being an electrical business, who basically got the exact same setup that I'm looking to do. There's no home directly behind us because that property is what used to be a former landfill. The property to the left of us or up north in this photo of us is owned by the city. And I don't think there's any plans of any development that I'm aware of that. So we don't have a lot of homes right around these. Across from us, both businesses back right up to it. So unless those businesses were gonna allow homes to be built on their properties, I just don't see where we're infringing on anybody's home property in that area. But you know, that's kind of why we're here trying to get, we want to be in compliance with you guys. So do y'all have any questions?
Questions?
Not during public hearing.
Yeah, not during the public hearing, but
Okay, yeah, I guess.
maybe during the discussion later.
Thank you for your time.
Okay, thank you. Is there anyone else who would like to speak in the public hearing on this matter? Okay. It is now 6:42. And we will close the public hearing. The next item is a motion to approve on first reading by caption only, ordinance number 2023-09. It is the approval to read, not on caption only, not the official vote. Okay.
Second.
Okay, discussion? Okay, call for the vote.
It's just on the reading. Just on the reading.
Motion carries unanimously. Ordinance number 2023-09, an ordinance of the city of Tomball, Texas, amending chapter 50 zoning of the Tomball Code of Ordinances by rezoning approximately 4.94 acres of land legally described as being a portion of lot 48 in Tomball Town Site from single-family residential estate 20 SF20E to general retail zoning. The property is generally located within the 11100-11-200 block east side of Rudolph Road within the city of Tomball, Harris County, Texas, providing for severability, providing for a penalty of an amount not to exceed $2,000 for each day of violation of any provision hereof, making findings of fact and providing for other related matters.
Okay. Right. Next item is there a motion to adopt on first reading ordinance number 2023-09?
Second.
Okay, discussion. Is there any discussion
Yeah.
on this to Nathan? All right,
To each other.
to each other?
Well, I attended the zoning meeting, and y'all saw my report in David's executive summary. The only question that came up in my mind was that of these additional CUPs that are around here. And, you know, when that occurred, and some of that was either prior to zoning, or I don't really have a good historical footprint on when that went down, but that was in my mind the only really question. You know, if these others exist, why can't this one kind of thing?
If I'm not mistaken, I think a lot of those were before zoning was actually implemented. in town.
Yeah.
What are the
You wanna add?
The only thing I'll say is I've received a number of phone calls and emails from residents who live in the area and who are against this. And the issue that I always have, especially when you're looking to put a general retail in the middle of a residential subdivision, or residential area, is it's not necessarily what you're wanting to do, but if you sell the property, then it opens up for future people to put in general retail there. And that's what we as a council have to protect against. It's not exactly just for an individual that wants to do something specifically there now. It's for future owners as well. And so because of that, I'm not in favor of this just because of what it could possibly do to that area.
We have several individuals in our community that run businesses in and about their properties that they also have their residences at. I take issue with changing the zoning to a spot zone of retail. I would like to see if there's some way, if this is gonna be a private type business where they're not selling items out of their home. It's kind of like we have places here like the Gold Leaf. It's a bed and breakfast. We have people living there as well. And people come in there and spend the night for whatever it may be. So is there anything we can do as a municipality that would allow these folks to develop their piece of property without allowing it to go to a general retail zoning? Can we give them a CP on residential that allows them to do this? What is it that we can do to facilitate? I mean, there's no reason in us turning down people who want to come and live in our community, in my humble opinion. But at the same time, as Councilman Stoll eloquently put it, it's not you we're worried about. It's what happens when you all decide, or your kids decide, we're going to sell mom and dad's property, and somebody buys it and it's zoned that way. Then future councils don't have any way to keep that from becoming something that we don't want in that location. So I'm asking, what can we do to allow this without it being rezoned?
That'd be important.
I think we can do something here. I don't think we need to just tell these people, no, you can't do anything, maybe not take any action on this tonight, allow them to come back and visit with you, Nathan, visit with staff, find out what we can do to facilitate what they're wanting to do in our community.
Just to shed a little bit of light on that, is that this is the, I guess this is the avenue that staff directed the applicant to go. The reason being is because they want to live on the property, right? They want to reside there, which is perfectly fine. The problem is that, and the reason why they're asking for a rezoning is that general retail happens to be one of those zoning districts that allows them to have single family residential along with a commercial use at the same time. So it's kind of like the backwards way of looking at this. So this was the only way that we provided them the option to get to where they wanted to be, right? So they are asking for a conditional use permit immediately following this rezoning in order to achieve that goal.
So can we not issue a conditional use permit based on it staying SF20 and allowing them to have their business in their home or adjacent to their home?
So the difference there is that it doesn't work the opposite, but this way is that in SF20, there is no conditional use permit to allow for commercial business to reside there along with single family residential.
Well,
The only option would be is for a home occupation. So that's another route that we obviously gave an option to, but there are so many stringent guidelines on what a home occupation can be. Can't have anything more than 25% of your home, your actual residence that can be occupied as part of that home occupation. And then there's a bunch of whole host of other things that just didn't meet what their needs were at this time.
Well, here again, we're in this situation where our zoning, and we've talked about going back and revamping some of our zoning things and coming up with some subsets here and there. Here's the case where we need to have a subset of some kind, in my humble opinion. Again, I can't tell you all how to do it. I can't vote for this because the general retail is involved in it. I just assume we don't take action on it and try to find a way to work this out rather than setting them back 90 days or whatever else it may be, to come back and try to figure this thing out.
Councilman Townsend, I will also comment, during the zoning meeting, the applicant had mentioned that basically this office is where they're going to keep their books, that folks will come up and that go out to the homes, pick up their supplies, and they store their trucks and everything off-site. The truck goes home with the technician. So really, it's just a point. Did I get that right?
Yes.
Okay, and so they're coming in and then they're going out. And so that,
We've got that situation right now on the corner of Zion Road and Quinn Road. Where that little bitty. Well, the insurance company's one, but right across the street from the insurance company, there's a gentleman there that's running a alarm company out of his little bitty house. If you watch there, you can see the vans come in there every so often. We've got something right across the street by the high school where they've got orange buckets out there that they're running a business out of that. That's not zoned as commercial.
right,
So we're allowing it to happen. So if we're allowing it to happen, how can we disallow these folks from doing something very similar to that? That's where I stand. I think we have to be fair across the board, as I've always said. What we're doing for somebody, we got to do it for everybody. So I think we need to take no action on this. This is what I would propose. I do hold the motion on this, that we take no action on this, that they come back and somehow we try to help them out.
Well, at the same time, is there any other choices on this, or is this just delaying the vote for 90 days?
Really, we exhausted, I mean, what happens when people come in and they're wanting to do certain things at their home? We try to find an avenue for them to get there. Our direction went at this particular time, staff is going to vote in denial for it, and these are the reasons why, what we just presented to you. And we could not find another avenue for them to get to where they need to be. Sometimes, you know, the alternative response could be is that the folks that have owned the property out in that particular area off of Rudolph for so long wanted to keep it single family residential. You don't want these types of businesses to come in. And don't get me wrong, we deal with folks on a consistent basis where they want to live and operate and play on their own property. But sometimes it's just not appropriate, what we're finding. And there's a land use actually explicitly within our land use matrix that calls out exterminator services, and it just says no. So we found that this was a route. This gave them an opportunity to present their case to you. And by any means, you guys have the opportunity and approval authority to give them that approval. But we just wanted to let you know that this is where they don't meet our rules and regulations in our practice.
So those people who don't come to us, who don't ask for permission, and they perform their businesses, are we ready to go shut those people down? Because I guarantee you, the two instances that I've talked to you about tonight, they didn't come to the city and ask for anything. They just proceeded on and did what they wanted to do.
I would say we do have the opportunity, and I think sometimes we just don't see all of those things that happen. So when we were told, we do our research, and we ensure that we go back and look to see if there were businesses in operation previously to that particular one, because they could have been what we refer to as legal non-conforming.
I've lived here since 1994, and I can tell you exactly when those two businesses started. One of them was very recently, within the last year and a half. The other one, they remodeled the house and then they sold the house, and a business moved in there, and they've been running a business. As a matter of fact, they poured concrete out there so people could come in and park in their front yard.
Is that the one across from the school?
The one across from the school is one of them I'm speaking of, yes, ma'am. And then the other one is down,
It's adjacent to their parking.
yeah. So.
there's another one on our agenda tonight.
So my deal is look, guys, you know, are we gonna start dinging our citizens who want to live in our community? Can't we not find some way to work this out? I mean, I want to ask you. Is there anything we can do to work this thing out for these folks?
And so I'll just give from my standpoint, and staff has looked at all the different things, and that is another option, is to provide a text amendment to change to where you allow, let's say, just single family 20, the option with the CUP to add this. I think that we have to be careful. The unintended consequences there is that we already have a lot of uses that are trying to go and mix with residential that by doing that, it does provide some flexibility in the ordinance to allow some of those, especially on the larger tracks, that you'll see some of this stuff doing. But I think that doing it, I think we should go through the process of the master land use plan to see if that's an option for this. You still have the option to decide on this one specific, because it will ultimately be the same thing. You will have to consider every single one of those on an individual basis based on the CUP and based on what they're doing.
So in other words, under the CUP, they won't be able to do anything else to the property without coming back to council.
Correct. So whatever
Yeah.
conditions you set. So it will,
Yeah.
we can do that text amendment. I think it could create another unintended consequence with the same result. You'll still have to decide what parameters you're going to allow.
If there is, this is residential, as it is now. Is it possible to build a residential house and just have a large home office and not have trucks or chemicals being stored there?
That would need, I think we need to ask the applicant if that's, I mean, they can do something like that. Yeah, that's an opportunity. But
Okay.
if I could respond, David, on your comment is that with the CUP, it's only allowed if that's land currently the way that it's written. It only can happen when it's general retail. That makes sense, right? Because you can't do it. So you would have to change the zoning and then adopt the.
No,
CUP.
correct. Agreed.
Well,
That's
wait,
only if we decide to change to allow it in.
Right, I would, if we were to go about that road, I would recommend that we do more of a text change. Because that would.
Correct.
Explain what y'all are saying, please, because y'all lost me. We have to still go general retail?
No, as it sits now. So
Okay.
based on the rule
Right.
now, the CUP is only allowed in the zone of the least intensive zone is general retail currently.
Okay.
You can include it in the category to allow it in SF 20 with the CUP, but that would require a
Text amendment.
text amendment. yes.
And how long would it take us to do that text amendment?
We would have to go to planning and zoning. Maybe a month and a half.
I think that's a lot better than us just telling these people, go pound sand, in my opinion.
But let me say this, I mean, we've had a lot of people come before us as council over the years, asking us to rezone the property. And we always follow what our planning and zoning laws are, our rules. And I get comments all the time said to me before certain things come up on the agendas that doesn't follow the future land use map and things like that. And I understand what you're saying about trying to help people out, but there's a reason we have zoning. And if we're not going to follow it, why do we have it? And I understand it may not fit for everybody, but that's why we have zoning.
I do have a question of the applicants. They can come up, please. You have a variety of services that you do, a variety of trucks and chemicals and in and out. Is that your vision for this piece of property, or is it more being your personal residence and just running your offices in an enhanced home office, which means you could still be SF 20? It's just where are your trucks and your chemicals going to be stored?
So the trucks and the chemicals actually, all the chemicals stay in the trucks. The trucks go home with the change. So they're never all on site. I mean, if we have a meeting, they make it, but our meetings are far in between. So the chemical and the trucks go home to the technicians with.
Okay, what about signage? Since that is a residential road, what about your signage? What was your vision for that?
Limited, it really just goes on to what was approved. I mean, we don't have a lot of customers come to us. We don't sell chemicals out of the store. We don't sell material. We go to the home. The truck is our sign.
Okay, all right. Did anyone else have any questions?
So what are your chemicals? Where are your chemicals? Where do they reside? I mean, if you don't have them, if they're in your trucks have to pick them up from somewhere at some point in time.
Yes,
Where do they reside?
normally they go to the chemical stores that are all through Houston and in the greater area. So they pick them up from there.
Because I'm just thinking, maybe you could get a small storage warehouse someplace here in town and utilize that for that portion of the business, so to speak, and let them go ahead and do what they want to do there. I just can't see us changing it to general retail, and it's not because of y'all, okay? But we do have to protect our citizens. That's why they elect us.
And again, I think I wrote that up wrong. I think maybe doing this on this side of it, maybe a text amendment and not doing a general retail, just leaving it as it is and asking for a text amendment and then getting a conditional use strictly for the business. And then from what I understand is if we do that, then if we go to sell or somebody buys it or whatever, you guys have control of saying y'all can keep it this way or you gotta get rid of it or however the format goes.
So how do we go from classic trucks, which are beautiful by the way,
Thank you.
to an extermination business?
So all of my classic trucks are, we make them day drivers. They all have modern engines, modern brakes, AC, Bluetooth radio. They're a modern vehicle, but they look like the classic.
Okay.
And then we redo the suspension so we can handle it better. And then that's when they go out and do the business.
It's been better marketing than an actual signage, because people are constantly like, is that a real service truck or is that a gimmick? So it's been a great marketing tool.
How many trucks do y'all have?
Five.
5 trucks,
Classic.
classics.
Yes.
How many regular trucks do you have or vans?
About 4 other that I will be converting eventually into classic.
And where is that work done?
At the mechanic shop.
Okay, you don't do any of the work on your business. You're not doing the classic car.
No, you can't do that.
No, I'm not like that.
I'm just trying to find out what all is gonna be going on here.
I mean, sometimes I'll do like general, like oil change.
Oh, yeah.
But as far as the rebuilds and stuff.
I'm thinking of noise and pollution and that lighting pollution and that kind of stuff for your neighbors as well. You know, banging on cars and being metal and all kinds of stuff.
So if this, I want to make sure I understand the mechanics of the text versus what asking for now in general retail. If this was voted down, can they come back asking a text amendment?
Yes, you can.
Okay,
How long do they have to wait before they can come back and ask
They
for text
They
minute?
don't have to wait at all, because that
2 weeks.
question's not being asked tonight.
So it's, okay, so there's not gonna be a 30-day.
okay.
Well,
Okay.
it can't be 2 weeks from tonight because it's got to go to planning and zoning.
Oh,
Right.
It can be probably 6 weeks from tonight or 8 weeks from
It's
tonight.
gonna be based off of when they need to submit for planning and zoning, and when that next meeting is, and then the subsequent city council meeting.
Okay,
So a month and a half, 2 months.
Yeah, it's gonna be mid-July, probably third meeting in July, my guess.
yeah,
Or
and then,
third Monday of July. There's-
So if we take no action on this, it's the same thing, right?
no, it would be both.
I'm just saying, if we take no action on this tonight. And they come back with a text amendment, that's doing the same thing, correct?
Yeah, taking no action or voting it down would be
They're the same thing.
they'd be in the same position. It's not the same thing.
Okay.
Okay.
They'd be in the same position.
And if y'all, so you would not ever consider wanting to keep it SF20?
Oh, it would stay SF20.
Well, right now, but I mean, you're coming to change it.
It would stay SF20 and then would have a CUP for general retail on top of it, SF20, am I right?
Excuse me. I'm
Yep.
sorry. So what I
Thank
think we were talking about was that we would allow for there to be some type of business operations in SF20. And we would limit it to, I don't know all of the parameters that would be given at this particular time, but we would write it in that it wouldn't be a full-blown business, but it would be something that it would be in between a full-blown business and a home occupation, something along those lines. And it would be, we would have limitations most likely because of the size of the lots. So they could set it back further from the right of way. They would be able to screen it from other people's types of views. There would be we would have a lot of conditions on it, or a conditional use permit could be requested to do that.
But it would not
The
be general
underlying
retail.
zoning would be-
Stay
SF20.
sounds and things like that.
That's right. I mean, just.
Well, you can write all that into the conditions.
Right, just like how we have it for our home occupation rules and regulations.
But the
It's
underlying-
very,
The underlying zoning would still remain SF20.
that is correct.
Yeah.
Because whatever we're doing here, we're setting up a precedent for future operations of the large residential lots in this city.
Yeah, and remember, there's-
And that's why
Yes.
this needs to be really
If there
well
were-
thought out, keeping it SF20.
So you would, what I would suggest is we also look at all of the locations where SF20 is. You know, whether neighborhoods have it, and if that's something that we want. I mean, that's just what we would do as part of our due diligence.
Nathan, can we set a minimum acreage in that SF20? So in other words, not just an SF20, 20,000 square foot lot, but set it down to where it's a 2-acre lot, 3-acre lot. Can we put that in there as far as it goes? That it has to be at least that, so we don't have people going into residential areas trying to do that with SF20 lots? Because we do have that situation.
I think we could, that would be a condition you would put forth on that particular,
4 acres and more. I mean, just that way you're not allowing it into the Hunter Woods where the SF20 lots are in Hunterwood. You're doing it to where people have some acreage.
We would need to do that because that's the 2-acre lot subdivisions we have, which is what people want.
Correct.
All of a sudden, 1 acre you live on and 1 acre you have a business, and that's what we're opening up, and that is not the intent of those subdivisions. Not just Hunterwood, but many of them.
I agree.
yes, and again, you know, that's. We have to, I know our planning department has to be very careful because there's a lot of people who have a lot of great ideas. So we have to turn a lot of those ideas away because.
Well,
But I know that's difficult to do because we can, but there are some changes. Again, we have some opportunity coming up here with the comp plan amendment and UDC. I think we'll have some opportunity to have those discussions.
Okay.
what would you prefer, Mayor? To vote on it or no action?
That's what I was asking, which would be better to take no action tonight or to vote down the general retail.
The result is the same. You've got a motion in the second on the table. I just assume we complete the action.
Okay.
Take a vote on it.
Y'all,
Okay, so the motion, the first and the second, Tracy, if you would read back the motion, please.
The motion is Darren Townsend and second by John Ford.
And the motion is
to accept it as it is.
To adopt on first.
To adopt it.
Ordinance number 2023-309.
Yep.
Okay. Right. Okay, but it's not changing it.
We're not doing anything we can until you get text amendment back.
All right.
Yeah, we're voting on what's on the screen.
Okay, is there any other discussion? Everybody understand what we're not voting to make it general retail?
Well, if I can.
Yeah, I'm confused.
This is the zoning case, right? We have a conditional use permit immediately after this. This is requesting it to change from the zoning SF20 to general retail. What we were just discussing is we were talking about changing it, doing a text amendment versus going this route. So.
Yeah, if you approve this, yes, you would be approving it for general retail,
Right,
okay? On first reading, but if you don't want it to be, then you vote against it.
okay. So we have a motion to change this from single family residential estate 20 to general retail zoning. Motion and second, call for the vote.
Motion fails unanimously.
Okay. Next item is consideration to approve case CUP 2303. Request by Chris and Tiana Campbell for the conditional use permit to allow residential use within the general retail zoning.
So, yeah, as we just discussed, it's the same location. The request was for if the general retail were to pass, they could request a conditional use permit. But since the general retail zoning did not pass, then I don't think it's necessary for us to go through this because it's not.
Okay.
It's not.
So we will
No,
take
it's
take no
moot point
action.
at this point.
Yes.
Right, we will take no action on item 1 of the agenda. And move on to the next, and which is now item went from 3 to 1, and now we're jumping back to 5. 4 to 5. So, okay,
Some of the items have to be moved.
the items were moved around on the agenda, but they've all been subject to the open meeting.
Parliamentary inquiry.
We went 3-1-5.
Why are we moving these around?
Because Tracy told me to. So- Because this was suggested by city staff, and I trust the way that it was done.
I'll say this, 3 had to go before number 1,
Right, yeah.
because number 1 was.
Yeah, I understand that.
Why they're doing 5 at this point, I don't know.
Councilman Ford, when we put the agenda together, we put them in the order they came in. And then we realized we should have done a better job of ordering them so they could go flow through with the meeting. So it was a
Better shuffle.
Okay,
yes.
all right.
And I'm just kidding. I'm kidding, Tracy.
Okay.
So, she's
on the-
wonderful.
It's on the record.
Uh-oh.
How's that bus feel?
Tire tracks there.
Next item is conduct a public hearing and consideration to approve zoning case Z 2305, request by Michael Kirtley, represented by Sam Jackson of Black Mountain Energy Storage to amend chapter 50 of the Tomball zoning by rezoning 5 acres of land in Tomball Townside from ag to light industrial. Nathan?
Mayor Council, Nathan Dietrich, Community Development Department. We had been approached by the applicant right after the Planning and Zoning Commission, and they feel that they need to do some further work with staff. I'd be happy to make a presentation for both the zoning and the conditional use permit, but I wanted to let you guys know up front, because this could become lengthy, that they have asked for this to be tabled at this particular time and to come back at a later date. And the applicant is here to come forth with a timeline and some other comments to make towards the commission. But again, I'd be happy to go through the whole agenda item and for the conditional use permit if it pleases the council. I just wanted to let you know up front that that's what they're requesting.
What were their reasons for tabling it now? What facts situation will change from now and in the future?
I think it's appropriate for them to come up and give you that, but from what they asked us is that they, after hearing some of the comments that was from planning and zoning, that they have a little bit of work to do. And so they wanted to be able to take that time to be able to prepare for those types of questions that might arise that they weren't ready for.
So are we gonna hold the public hearing today?
What we would like to do is hold the public hearing because we had put it in the paper and to respect the folks that have taken the time out of their day to come here, that they would be able to still voice their concerns. One of the recommendations that staff has made to the applicant is that they would also go back and take the steps that we usually take, is to set out at least a 300-foot notification to the folks within that buffer from the parcel. But what staff did in this particular case when this other energy systems came before you, the Apex folks that came up here and spoke with you, you had made mention of that you would rather have not just the 300 feet as put forth by our ordinances, but you asked for at least to be like a half a mile or so. So we sent out courtesy letters to folks within 2,000 feet of the parcel. So what we had recommended to the applicant is that they would do the same thing, but when they were to come back, whether that's at the next meeting or 2 meetings from now, but they had put together forth a presentation that I'm sure they would like to come up and speak to you.
Okay, so we'll go ahead and conduct the public hearing and consideration to approve zoning KC 2305. It is now 7:15 PM. We would like to open the public hearing on the zoning KZs 23-05. Do we have anyone who would like to come up and speak for 3 minutes on this matter? Okay. All right. Then we will close the public hearing at 7:16 PM. And no further action will be taken at this time. The Do we go to number 2 to approve? Item number 2 is consideration to approve the KCUP. Is this a no action item then, or do we go ahead and go through with these?
I think what they're requesting is to table both items,
Mhm.
so both the zoning case and the conditional use permit.
Okay,
What staff just requested is that there was an opportunity, some folks that came here wanted to speak and on behalf of, to speak to council on it, that they had the opportunity to do so. At this point, if this is the council, I can call the applicant up to speak to you, if you like.
I just want to ask a question, since we're having the public forum tonight for this. When this does come back on the agenda, if any residents are coming tonight to speak and they do not speak, will they have the opportunity to speak then, or should they speak tonight?
I think we can call another public hearing on.
Can we do this? Can we take those folks who came tonight to speak and get a list of them? So that when they come back next time, if they do come back next time, they get preference because they did come out here tonight.
So Nathan, is it your intention to not publish another notice of public hearing on this? Because I'm a little bit concerned about how we can go forward on, well, we're not gonna take action on it. I guess we can have the public hearing on the CUP. But we don't have the right zoning for the CUP at this point, so.
Yeah, I think what they're asking to do is just table both items.
Okay,
Yeah, just take no action on both items. No, my question was though, are we gonna do another notice of public hearing, publish it for the next time the CUP comes up?
We can.
Yeah, I mean, that's my concern is that we don't have the underlying zoning. And I understand that, there are a bunch of people here that probably want to be heard, but we don't have the underlying
So then,
zoning for
I
the
would say
CUP.
that would be appropriate for us to.
Yeah,
conduct
we can do
another
that.
Yeah, I think.
Yeah, we can do that.
so we'll have another
Make sure.
public hearing on this
Yes, ma'am.
when the time comes, when they're ready to present.
Yes.
Okay. All right, so next item number 2 is take no action.
So. I have a question and it's the elephant in the room. I've heard that this company is going out giving people $500 to not challenge this zoning change. If there's factualness in those statements, I want to know about it. I want to know about it tonight. Paying off our citizens to not stand up against you voting or having us vote against something like this is totally uncalled for.
Oh, we're not taking any.
Okay.
action on this.
Okay, well,
I'm sorry, Derek. It's
Yeah.
just-
well,
Yeah.
it needs to come out.
Oh, I don't disagree with you at all.
And if it means I'm out of order, I'm out of order. Thank you, sir.
Yeah, we're taking no action, so I mean. The answer to that question, if you'd like to come up afterwards and talk to Councilman Townsend, please do. Okay. All right, item number 2, still a take no action. Item number 4. Consideration to approve zoning case Z 2304, request by Rose Hill Estates, represented by George Yakasi. Yakasi? Thank you. To amend chapter 50 of the Tomball Code of Ordinances by rezoning 5.11 acres of land described as Lot 2, Block 1, Swinghammer House subdivision for single-family residential estate to commercial property. This property is located on 1820 South Cherry Street within the city of Tomball. Nathan?
Yes, Mayor Council, Nathan Dietrich, Community Development Department. As you can see, the parcel that is up for an amendment to our official zoning map is located in this yellow hatched area along South Cherry, at 1820 South Cherry. It is approximately 5.11 acres, and it's been in the city of Tomball since the beginning in 1907. The reason for the request today is that in September of 2022, it was brought to staff's attention that there was a property being utilized for commercial activity. And subsequently, a notice of zoning violation for unlawful commercial use of the property within a single family residential zoning was sent to the property. Following conversation with the owner and the property, it was confirmed, confirmed the property is presently being utilized for an office purpose. So to bring the property into legal compliance, the applicant is seeking to rezone the property to commercial zoning to allow for the property to continue to be utilized for commercial purposes. It is worth mentioning that the zoning to be approved, the applicant will be required to submit a necessary site and building plan review for approval by city staff to receive necessary building permits to bring the site up to commercial stages. I think that's very important to note, and the applicant was open to it, and so it's very good for them meeting ADA and other compliance issues that protect the health and safety of our citizens. As you can see on this next photo or this next slide, is that the subject property obviously looks to be as a single family residential lot. It's on a large acre tract, so driveway is very long, set back from the road. Adjacent properties to the north are other commercial uses. To the south is another single family residential lot. And the neighboring property again is a single family residential use. On the zoning map, you can see that the property in question, hatched in black, is currently within our SF2, or I'm sorry, single family residential 20 zoning district. It's since the adoption of zoning in 2008. The subject property, as well as the neighboring property moving to the south, are remnant single family residential zoning districts wedged between existing commercial zonings to the north and to the south, both happening in 2009 and 2015 respectively. This current arrangement of large lot, single family residential districts wedged between two commercial zoning districts can be viewed as a residential spot zoning, which is often considered an undesirable arrangement, like we said before in the previous agenda. Furthermore, the subject site is approximately 400 linear feet north of the intersection of South Cherry and Tice Road, two minor arterials. Thoroughfares are often considered appropriate for commercial zoning districts and uses as they provide convenient vehicular access as well as the exposure to large volumes of traffic, which is often necessary for commercial success. In the next slide, we'll show where our future land use plan is. This property is designated within the business park and industrial land use category, identified with our comprehensive plan and future land use plan. The business park and industrial category is intended to create opportunities for employment. The land uses promoted within this category should benefit from being located near access, roads, and major thoroughfares, which would provide convenient access for vehicular traffic. According to our comp plan, appropriate land uses within this district would be office, warehouse, light manufacturing with indoor operations, breweries, distilleries, equipment sales, contractor services, and corporate campuses. The comprehensive plan recommends zoning districts of light industrial, commercial, office, and/or planned developments. As you can see in this notification map, after submitting letters to folks within 300-foot buffer zone, there we had one response in favor and 0 in opposition. At the time that city staff brought this to planning and zoning, we recommended approval of this case since it was in line with our commercial, our current future land use plan, and the result will continue and establish the business park and industrial land use category as identified in the future rules. We also, at that point, P&Z also recommended to approve the case. Happy to answer the question.
Thank you. Maybe during discussion time. Next item is to conduct public hearing on zoning case Z 2304. It is now 7:25 p.m. and we will open the public hearing. Is there anyone wishing to speak on this agenda item at this time?
I don't have anyone signed up.
Okay. All right. It is now 7:25 p.m. We will meet 7:26 PM. We will close the public hearing. Is there a motion to approve first reading by caption only on ordinance number 2023-10?
So
Second.
Any discussion? Call for the vote?
Motion carries unanimously. Ordinance number 2023-10, an ordinance of the city of Tomball, Texas, amending chapter 50 zoning of the Tomball Code of Ordinances by rezoning approximately 5.11 acres of land legally described as being lot 2, block 1 of Swinghammer Hawk subdivision from single-family residential estate SF20 to commercial. The property is located at 1820 South Cherry Street within the city of Tomball, Harris County, Texas, providing for severability, providing for a penalty of an amount not to exceed $2,000 for each day of violation of any provision hereof, making findings of fact and providing for other related matters.
Now, is there a motion to adopt on first reading ordinance number 2023-10?
So moved. Second.
Okay, discussion.
So I have questions for Nathan.
All right.
So Nathan, explain to me how this works. We find a property that's out of compliance, they're noticed. Obviously, there's fines and stuff involved if the practice continues and they don't conform. Is that how it works? We don't start. We work with them to get it into compliance
That's right. So.
as long as they're willing to work with us to get there. And
So we initially reached out to the property owner and we didn't receive any response. We tried one more time and then we got a response from their attorney, then worked with their attorney for, we gave them, I think it was either 45 days or 30 days to either give us a response on how they're going to move forward, whether they're going to submit for a zoning map amendment change, which would make them in compliance, which is where we want them to be. Or we told them that we would move to the next level, which would be administering fines, et cetera.
okay,
So at that point, they responded to us. We worked well with them. We got to this point. 2 years ago.
okay. And in the meantime, they can continue to run the business. I'm not talking particularly just about this one, but in general, they can continue to operate out of compliance until everything is.
If we
settled.
are working towards a solution,
Okay.
yes.
Okay, I just wondered how that works.
And Nathan, is there any issue being commercial on future owners' rights in this area?
No, as you can see, the property immediately to the south was their zone change occurred back in 2015 and to the north in 2009. And so there is one remainder parcel of land. They were notified and gave an opportunity to come and speak here, and they did not. And so we I don't want to say we assume, but if people don't respond, we assume they're okay with what's happening. And so that's where we're at. And as you can see, the future land use plan supports a change to more of an industrial type of uses in nature, those types of land uses. So it is a movement, a change that's occurring in that sector or that section of Tom.
Okay, so the other ones are commercial or light industrial?
There are some that are commercial,
Mhm.
and when the future land use plan says industrial, it's just industrial type services, and so it does support a commercial zoning district. And so, yes, it falls in line.
All right, thank you.
So Nathan, somebody buys that piece of property now that it's going to be zoned commercial and it's a residential home. And they want to turn it back into a residential home for themselves to live in. Do they have to come back and get that rezoned residential in order for that to occur?
Yes.
So then there is notification, I take it, on the sale of property that's a residential situation going commercial, that if they ever do sell it, they have to let them know they have to have it rezoned, correct? How is that due diligence done? How does somebody who's comes into our community who buys a home that was commercial, turn it back into residential, because it is a residential home? How do they know that they have to have it rezoned?
Would a real estate broker have to have that understanding?
Yeah, I mean, we do, so a lot of times what we see in Councilman Townsend is that people, if they're aware that we have zoning, right, they'll come to the city and we share it with them. There are real estate agents that are very aware of, and that's why we made that interactive map to make it very easy on our residents and our businesses to know what's going on. To answer your question directly is that I'm not sure if there is a smoking gun that says, hey, this is what your studying is. Because a lot of people take what the HCAD record is what it's being used for. So if it has a commercial indication on it, let's say commercial, even though it might look like single family residential. I wouldn't say that there is anything that designates.
Yeah, I think that's just due diligence on the part of the purchaser.
And the future land use of this is commercial.
Business commercial.
It is business.
Okay. Is there any more discussion? All right, let's call for the vote.
Motion carries unanimously.
Okay. Next item is number 6. As consideration to approve zoning case Z 2306. Request by Red Grip LLC, represented by Mike Matheson, to amend chapter 50 of the zoning code of ordinances by rezoning 1.05 acres of land described as being lot 72, block 1 of Aquest Tomball replat number 1 from commercial to office zoning. The property is generally located within the 12 to 1300 block south side of Rudel Drive within the city of Tomball. Nathan?
Mayor Council, Nathan Dietrich, Community Development Department. As you can see on our location map, this is right west of the intersection of Rudel and Quinn. It is directly south of our fire station in this vicinity. The reason for replat, city staff has met with the applicant on multiple occasions over the past year to discuss potential development of an office complex at this property. According to the information provided by the applicant, there are plans to construct 2 office buildings which will be divided into suites. The intent is to split these buildings by property boundaries so that each respective suite occupant can own their respective office space. To achieve this goal and create the desired number of suites for purchase, the applicant will request to rezone the office zoning to office zoning because the minimum lot area of 6,000 square feet, as opposed to the current commercial zoning, which has a minimum lot area of 10,000 square feet. And as you can see from the site photos, the neighboring to the north is the fire station. The neighboring to the east is an apartment complex. The subject property is vacant. It's all grass. There's no wooded area or anything along those lines. Neighboring property to the south is a parking lot, and then the property to the west is a new apartment multi-family unit place that's being built at the corner of Hooven House and Rudolph.
Okay. All right.
The next slide shows what the current zoning is, and it is commercial zoning as adopted from our when zoning was adopted in 2000. Moving to the future land use plan is the next slide. The property is designated as neighborhood commercial by the comprehensive plan and future land use plan map. This land use category is intended to promote commercial uses of the appropriate context, scale, and design to complement residential development. These are areas that are intended to be accessible by both vehicles and pedestrians. Land uses should consist of mixtures of restaurants, retail, professional services, clinics, and offices. The comprehensive plan and recommends that the zoning districts for this area would include office, general retail, or planned developments for the neighborhood commercial land use category. Additionally, the comprehensive plan states that neighborhood commercial development should be located adjacent to intersections of collector streets such as Quinn or greater functional classifications. Furthermore, the comp plan identifies the need to promote development and create complementary relationships between different land uses. Locating community facilities, services, and limited commercial uses within and near existing and proposed neighborhoods has the potential to create mutually beneficial relationships between these land uses. As you can see here, here's kind of an exhibit of what this proposed development is going to look like. It's going to be the structures in the center. Over to the west will be their detention pond, and to the south is going to be the parking lot. As our notification map for 300 feet from this particular parcel, we sent out letters and we received 0 responses in favor and 0 responses in opposition. So city staff recommended the P and Z for approval of this case, and P and Z recommended to approve this case unanimously. So, any other questions?
Go back 3 slides. There, stop. You said parking to the south of it?
Oh, I'm sorry, my mistake. I have, no, you're.
I'm just-
to the north.
Okay.
Okay,
We're
I
gonna-
saw that.
I apologize.
Okay, we're gonna
It's
have the
from
public
Canada,
hearing
if it's
now.
to the south.
It's.
South is always up, right?
You can be jealous, right? I couldn't see the- so, I apologize. The parking to the north, areas are on the south, it's not here. Detention on the west.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. It is now 7:36 PM. We will open a public hearing. Is there anyone who would like to speak on the zoning of Z 23-06?
I don't have anyone sign up.
Okay. It is now 7:37 PM. We will, that's a fast minute, I know. We will close the public hearing. Is there a motion to approve first reading by caption only ordinance number 2023-12?
So moved.
Second.
Discussion? Call for the vote?
Motion carries unanimously. Ordinance number 2023-12, an ordinance of the city of Tomball, Texas, amending chapter 50 zoning of the Tomball Code of Ordinances by rezoning approximately 1.04 acres of land legally described as being lot 72, block 1 of Acres, Tomball, Wheat Bat number 1, from commercial to office zoning. The property is generally located within the 1300 blocks of Rudall within the city of Tomball, Harris County, Texas, providing for severability, providing for a penalty of an amount not to exceed 2,000 for each day of violation of any provision hereof, making findings of fact and providing for other related matters.
Okay. Thank you. Is there a motion to adopt on first reading ordinance number 2023-12?
Motion.
Second.
Okay, discussion? Discussion on this item for Nathan? Okay, and call for the vote?
Motion carries unanimously.
Okay, next item is item 7, to approve the resolution number 2023-28. Resolution of the city of Tomball regarding compliance with the major thoroughfare extension of Telge Road regarding approximately 18.73 acre tract of land located at 16,000 FM 2920 being released from the ETJ of the city of Houston into the city of Tomball's ETJ. Nathan.
Yes, Mayor, Mayor Council, Nathan Dietrich, Community Development. Some of you might remember this resolution coming before you back in 2017. There was a request for the same parcel of land to be released from the city of Houston's extraterritorial jurisdiction and be accepted into the city of Tomball's extraterritorial jurisdiction. Since then, when the applicant went forward to city of Houston asked for an additional resolution or acceptance from this same body. What they have asked for is that we would recognize, if bringing this into our extraterritorial jurisdiction, that we would also recognize the city of Houston's major thoroughfare plan, and that the extension of Telge Road, which currently terminates at 2920, would be extended as a collector as per their current major thoroughfare plan. I'm sorry, here, that was the parcel. Here is what it looks like today as a site photo. Right, that's right at the intersection. If you go to the next slide, please. This is City of Houston's major thoroughfare plan. And this is just a snippet of what this proposed area is. As you see in the legend on the right, the area that extends up Telge Road is a proposed collector that would move to the north. And so what they're asking for you is to add to that amendment or resolution that you already have approved, that you would also recognize that this thoroughfare should be built when coming into our city.
Okay. Is there a motion to approve resolution number 2023-28?
Motion.
Second.
Discussion. Nathan, what roads, that was kind of hard to see. What roads are the major thoroughfare plan of the city of Houston planning? I know at one time they were going to come down Lutheran Church Road, they were going to come down Park Road, they were going to, so what are we approving of theirs by adding this? That-
Sure.
Whenever somebody adds something to, I'm always,
Yeah,
why?
I'm sorry, this snippet I'm just familiar with. The area that's located in the white, you'll see white on the right-hand side,
Mhm.
that is our city limits. Everything out on the left is actually in the ETJ of Houston. So on their thoroughfare plan, we are just a white block. So there's different agency there. So right where it says Graceview, right where the A is, that street is Telge Road. And the indication of the two red lines that are going up north and south show that Telge is to be widened as part of their major thoroughfare plan at one time. We don't have a date or time that that's going to occur. However, if and when we adopt or bring this person into our city's limits or our ETJ, they no longer have control over that thoroughfare plan. So what they're asking for to meet what their current uses of their thoroughfare plan is today, that we would extend or add that to our thoroughfare plan at a later date. And so that continuation of that road, I tell you, would go to the north.
Okay, and so that road doesn't exist right now?
That is correct. So
Okay.
if Jessica, if you could go back to the photo.
Yeah.
So right there, Telge terminates right into as a T intersection into Trinidad. So what we don't see there is that there's a visible right of way that we go to the north that those neighboring properties would end up dedicating as part of their planning process, which would give us right of way to build and construct road.
Okay, which is basically parallel to Salem Church Road, but cutting through the back of Park Road, hitting up to Brown Road.
That is correct.
So it's going through the fields right now on their major thoroughfare, not any existing connecting roads.
That is correct.
Okay, of course, that is up to the landowners, correct?
No.
No, it's not.
But
Well, that's
as-
right,
as-
eminent domain.
So
They're
The
gonna-
difference here is that it does exist already, so by us adopting it into ours, it doesn't change the impact of the current. Right.
Okay,
Until they develop.
Nathan, can you go to your map again, please?
okay,
That one. So, yes, so that's fine. So the turquoise that is north of Telge now, that looks like it has a slight left bootleg and then it comes back to the right and then a hard right, or excuse me, comes back to the right and then a hard left to Brown Road. Is that the best path?
It's a subdivision.
Oh, there is a
Yeah.
subdivision.
Right hand, to the right hand side of it.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. I don't know.
It's not.
Okay.
It's much in the city.
And just as a reminder to city council is that a thoroughfare plan does not solidify the exact location of where that road will be. It's just, it needs for there to be a connection.
Gotcha. Okay, thank you, sir. That's fine. Thank you.
and this resolution is basically, by doing this, we would not deny, we would help with any connection.
Technically, there's, as Lauren and I spoke, there's not a ton of teeth in this, but it's just, it meets their requirement.
Okay,
for these folks to move forward with this exchange of an ETJ.
okay,
Nathan, just to confirm and maybe to calm some people when you hear the word Houston.
Yes, sir.
Just because it's a Houston ETJ thoroughfare does not mean the city of Houston is going to incorporate out.
No, sir.
And that road, like you mentioned, Telge, with it being widening, that's not the city of Houston that's widening that. It will be Constable 4's office,
Yes, sir.
precinct 4, that will be widening that.
Right.
And probably thus doing any road improvements north of 2920 as well.
Yeah, they, the precincts actually adopt, the city of Houston's major thoroughfare plan as they all work in unison together with this. And then this requirement is actually to release this property from Houston's ETJ into our ETJ.
Right.
Yes, sir.
There's two words that make people nervous in this town. It's Houston and Metro,
Yes, sir.
right.
and neither one of those are gonna happen.
Okay, any other discussion on this item? Call for the vote?
Motion carries unanimously.
Okay, and at this time, we are going to take a 10-minute break, and then when we come back, Chris Lord, you were up. We still have 14 items, 6 items left.
14. Just got extended.
6 items left, so we'll take a 10-minute break. We will re-adjourn at to order. It is 8:00.
Yes. Thank you very much.
The next item is approve requests from MAD for vets for city support and in-kind services for the MAD for Vets third annual Freedom 5K Ruck March.
Yes.
Did you say Ruck?
Look.
Ruck March and the depot and around Tomball on Saturday, September 16th. Chris Lord, come explain a ruck.
Yes, thank you, Mayor, Council, Chris Lord, Temple and Nuevo Marketing. Wanted to,
Oh, just went out.
It's a battery issue. We'll fix it.
Good handle.
I'll just use the outside voice. Looking to kind of put out the request for MAD for Vets, city support in-kind services. It's their third annual Freedom 5K Ruck March. They're planning to execute around downtown Tomball and then kind of follow the track of Concordia's 5K on Saturday, September the 16th. The applicant is here. If you guys have any questions.
Okay. All right, is there, I'll call him up in a second on the discussion. Is there a motion to approve resolution number 2023-28?
Second.
Okay, discussion. Would the applicant like to come speak?
Yeah, no one's here.
Honestly, didn't prepare anything, but I'm here to answer any questions.
What's a ruck march?
Ruck March. Okay, so your typical 5K is run. This is a march. We literally will walk together, we march. And a ruck is your pack that you have on your back. So
Okay.
a lot of veterans will show up with their ruck, and then sometimes they'll put weight in it. They'll carry 30 or 40 pound in their backpacks. It's a backpack type thing.
Oh, okay. Any other questions?
Well, call them rucksacks.
Oh, that's why you call them ruck. Okay, because they may have rocks in them.
No, they do, but these trees, they get a lot of rocks.
Yep.
Okay. All right, if there's not any other, thank you very much.
Yes, ma'am.
There's not any questions. Let's call for the vote. Motion carries unanimously. Okay, next item is to approve a professional service agreement with Freeze and Nichols. Project number 2023 10,017 to update the current city guiding documents, which includes our comp plan, major thoroughfare plan, and the creation of a unified development code. This contract is for an amount not to exceed $450,000. It authorizes the expenditure of funds and authorizes the city manager to execute the agreement. This amount is included in our 2022-23 budget as part of our update on our zoning comp plans and major thoroughfare plans.
Yeah, Mayor Council, Nathan Dietrich, Community Development. Just wanted to bring this to your attention. I know this has been a long time in coming. Otherwise, this would have been on business consent. So we just wanted to share our enthusiasm that we're going to be starting this process off. We as staff put a request for qualifications out, received 4 submissions back, and then we all came to the conclusion that Freeze and Nichols was the contractor that we needed to do this for us. And so we have agreed with Freeze and Nichols on this particular amount, and they should be getting started here within the next week or so for us to embark on this endeavor together.
Okay. Is there a motion to approve the professional service agreement?
So move. Second.
Any discussion?
Nathan, we put this out with 4 respondents. Was Freeze and Nichols the least expensive, or how was it it's selected, they selected?
Yeah, so at that time, we based it off of their request and their experience and You know, some of the examples that were given as to what current comp plans were adopted just recently. And then use those, called some folks that have worked with Freeze and Nichols in the past, and we came up with this. Now, what happened from there, they came back and submitted an amount to us. We went back and talked that through and kind of sharpened our pencils a little bit and adjusted some where some focuses needed to occur and not needed to occur, and then came up with this particular amount.
So basically it was off of their past history with other customers as being a priority, which is fine. I don't have a problem with that. I just trying to clarify that that's what, because of their experience.
Right, well, in the initial process, you're not allowed to ask numbers. Once you go through their qualifications, you know, and their experience, then you go and negotiate the numbers, and that's what.
So this was an RF law.
Right, so we did.
Okay, that's what I wanted to know. All right, thank you.
And this will take care of the trees and the other stuff that I've been kind of,
Yeah, you will probably have, you will have something before that. But it's something that we can also revisit after we adopt something in the interim. And then we can readjust that or look at it more thoroughly if you'd like, but we will have something towards for you within at least before the next meeting, I would say.
Cool.
We've been working on something. We just need to get it to you, and we had some fluctuations, but we should be able to give you some sort of draft of kind of.
cool, thank you.
Yes, sir.
And you're referencing the tree ordinance that Councilman Parr.
Yeah, it's kind of like maybe not a full blown tree
And
ordinance, but
setbacks.
it's more like acknowledging different buffers and compatibility standards. And so, yeah, those are the things we'll be focusing on.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
All right. If there's no more discussion, let's call for the vote.
Didn't want to vote.
Motion carries unanimously.
Okay. Next item is to authorize the city manager and the fire chief to execute a first responder organization agreement with Harris County Emergency Services District 8 to provide first responder medical services within the jurisdiction of Tomball Fire Department. Chief Sikora.
Yes, ma'am. Mayor and council, tonight you have item 10. In 2013, we started our first responder organization. In July of last year, Harris County Emergency Services District 8 took over as the service provider, and Northwest Community Health, Northwest Rural Emergency Medical Services ceases to exist today. It did in 1980 when it was originally established. So as a service provider, they had changed their Texas Department of State Health Services contract or their license agreement with them. And such, we have to follow suit as well, as already expires at the end of this month. We intend to submit with the new letter and new contract, provided you do approve tonight.
Okay. Is there a motion to authorize the city manager and the fire chief to execute the agreement?
So moved.
Second.
Discussion.
How long will this agreement be for?
It is in perpetuity. It only if we change it, if there's a need to change it. If we go from a BLS provider as a first responder organization to an ALS provider, we would need to bring that back to you for approval of that. It would.
Maybe you ought to explain BLS.
Yes,
and
basic
ALS.
life support versus advanced life support. If we began providing drugs to patients beyond that of what a basic EMT does, oxygen and so on, we would need to bring that back to you to advance our protocols to an advanced life support versus basic life support agency. Other than that, we would remain at the same level that we are right now, continuing to respond throughout the time that ESD is providing the services, which as a service provider now, I don't see that there would be a need to change unless they terminated their own and began another contract with another agency.
But since they're a new organization themselves, if their level of service does not meet what our requirements are for this area, is there a way in the agreement for us to get out of it and contract with somebody else?
No, so Harris County Emergency Services District 8 provides the emergency medical services for this area. In that we are more or less as a first responder organization. I don't want to say at their mercy because that sounds bad, but they are the ones, they're the taxing entity that provides for everyone within the city of Tomball and within their jurisdiction that extends outside the city of Tomball. They are the ones that do that. Us as a city, we do not have a way to change that unless there is a way, if I remember correctly, for us to begin to provide those services. It would just take legislation on y'all's part, and I believe at the state level for us to be able to do that.
What does this agreement
If
do
I may,
for us?
What it does is allow us when it allows us to operate underneath their protocols. It is the same one that was voted in 2013. The only thing that changes is the name from Northwest Rural Emergency Services. to
As a technical matter or a legal matter, this council could vote at some point to terminate the contract, which would just, but now, as of course, from chief standpoint, that may be not feasible.
Right.
But as a legal matter, you could vote to terminate the contract.
Yeah, from a standpoint of providing service, we're there to support the ambulance service. And, as far as your question about the level of service, it's just a change in name only. All the same people are there, the same units are there. They're still providing an excellent level of service to the community. Fire department's just there to support them.
Okay. In some ways, Councilman, we do reduce their response times, especially when they're not available. There are times that they do have 5 calls running at the same time and they don't have an ambulance available, so they're calling a neighboring agency, much like we do when we're out on a structured fire and we call for assistance. We reduce that response time and then allow our citizens quicker medical care by being there through this contract.
Okay.
All right, any other questions? Let's call for the vote. Motion carries unanimously.
Thank you.
Item 11, authorize expenditure of greater than 50,000 with RSM US related to the procurement of information technology consulting services, software and hardware for fiscal year 2022-23. You're not Doug.
I'm not Doug. And I probably can't fix your computer either, but Doug is on vacation this week, so I'll take this for him. But this is a item that is required under our existing purchasing policy. We have some ongoing service and software contracts with RSM to help support our IT department. And so when we exceed that $50,000 limit for our policy, we need to seek council approval. So that's what this item is for.
Okay. Is there a motion to approve resolution number 2023-28?
So moved. Second.
Discussion?
I have a question.
Yes.
Okay, expenditure of greater than 50,000,
Okay.
is there up to?
That's what I was gonna ask. What's the maximum?
I mean, greater than 50,000 could be $2 million.
So in this particular case, this isn't the contract itself. That's already been authorized by city council. This is just the action of approving the expenditure. So the individual purchase itself is less than the threshold that would bring the contract to city council. The software contract, I want to say, is about $6,000 to $7,000 a month. It's our Office 365 subscription. So the contract itself wouldn't come to city council. It's the expenditure that would be required under the policy.
Okay, I mean, just for me, it would be helpful, instead of just saying greater than 50,000, if you actually had a
Less
to
than.
exceed or something like that on there. So
Okay.
I just don't think
Yeah.
it's open-ended.
It's not, no, we have to just get approval under the policy when we exceed that $50,000 number.
What's in the
Yeah.
budget? What's the number in the budget?
For this particular item, it's in a software services.
No, but I mean,
One.
what is the number?
Well, I think we had a situation where we've approved a certain expenditure up to a certain amount. And this is simply an expenditure in that up to amount that we all agreed upon a couple of months ago.
That's how it's written in the budget.
No, so
No,
Councilman Ford, this is in relation to the cyber attack. So this RSM is the contractor the additional purchase of software. They also provided some consulting services. And so those contractors that we approved, that's when you add those together, since it's the same vendor, is exceeding the 50,000.
We've already approved it. We just now having to say, yeah, you can spend more than 50,000. Because if they didn't, we could raise heck about it.
Okay. So there's a first and a second on a motion to approve the expenditure of greater than 50,000. Any more discussion? Let's call for the vote.
Motion carries unanimously.
Next item, item 12 is to approve the purchase of one Chevrolet Silverado 1500 crew cab truck through the TIPS USA contract for a not to exceed amount of $45,579. Approve the expenditure of funds thereof, authorize the city manager to execute any and all documents related to the purchase. This purchase is included in the 2022-23 budget. The vehicle is in place of the Ford F-150 crew cab truck authorized November 7th, 22, because the dealership canceled the purchase due to the lack of inventory. So we ordered one, they couldn't get it, we're getting another one. The difference in price for the two vehicles is $3,226. Captain.
Mayor and Council, Brandon Potan, Tomball PD. As you said, Mayor, y'all approved this back when we went over in the regular budget back in October. However, we were notified that at this time, Ford is not making any more F-150s until through October. With that being said, we have not received a VIN number also, so technically it's canceled. We were notified of this a couple weeks ago. I got a call late last week that there is one on the ground that is close to it. Basic truck, white with vinyl seats, no carpet in it, regular floor mats, but it was a price difference. So that's where we are. I'll answer any questions anybody has.
Okay, I'll entertain a motion to approve the expenditure and authorize the city manager to execute any and all documents related to the purchase.
So
Do I have a second?
Second.
Is this a-
Discussion.
Is this an increase in price or a decrease in price?
It is an increase in price, sir.
And it's an increase in price. Is there anything that's being added to this truck to warrant said increase? Or is it simply just because we're down the road 3 months and they've decided they're gonna jack it up another $3,200?
That's what they got. Basically, they gave us the price. That's what they're going for now, sir. Even though, I mean, I don't know, at the time I didn't price a Chevrolet. The Ford was the cheapest one when we applied for that one. So that's the only price I got now, sir.
So it's not a cause it's fix or repair daily Ford. It's
Yes, ma'am.
Chevrolet.
First on race day.
Oh,
Anybody?
So this is for the police department.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. This is going to replace unit number 20, which is a CSI truck, sir, that transports evidence to and from downtown twice a week.
And that's what we're gonna do with it.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay. Any more questions? Then let's call for the vote.
And for repairs.
Motion carries unanimously.
Oh, not cold.
Next item, Jessica, our legislative items, update on our Texas legislation.
Okay.
So just to get council up to speed on where we are, there are exactly 2 weeks left of the legislative session at the state level. So this is one of my last updates, hopefully, for this legislative session, but we are likely heading to a special session because property tax reduction strategies have not yet been agreed upon between the House and the Senate. So I may be back more than you think with legislative items. So as I mentioned before, May 8th was the last day for House committees to report House bills. At that point, only 900 House bills had made it through the process out of about 6,900 House bills. Just to kind of give you a reference point for how many actually kind of get through that process. Even fewer will make it through the final process. The Senate, again, has a little bit of a different deadline. They're still considering bills in committee. So as I mentioned before, the property tax reduction strategy is still ongoing, and that is leading to a lot of bills getting held up sort of as collateral. There's the way too small to read calendar. But if you look, we are on the 126th day and there are 124 days. Some interesting things will happen, and those little tiny prints that you see in the next kind of 2 weeks are deadlines for when the House or Senate have to act on particular types of bills. Almost always the House. Senate doesn't really like rules as much as the House does. Quickly to give you an update on status of bills. I tried to update this as much as I could yesterday based on where we were, but I'm not sure if any actions were taken today. So this was the status as of yesterday. House Bill 2127, which was the super preemption bill, right now is sitting on the Senate intent calendar. That means that it can be brought up on the floor of the Senate. An interesting thing about that bill is the Senate committee actually reported the identical House bill that was presented to them. With that means that there will be no conference committee if the Senate does not amend the bill, and then immediately upon passage would go to the governor. That's based on what kind of we're hearing, that's likely to occur possibly this week. But obviously there's some room there that we don't have the most up-to-date information or things change. House Bill 3538, Senate Bill 175 is the community censorship bill, the TML bill. The Senate bill passed the Senate and it has been referred to the House State Affairs Committee. The word is that bill will likely die. The House at this point is not entertaining hearing that bill in committee. House Bill 3921, Senate Bill 1787 is the lot size bill. It passed the Senate. Again, it has been referred to a House committee, but I'll add it has not been heard by a House committee. So again, the House sort of taking a stance of not moving on that bill just yet. House Bill 2789, Senate Bill 1412 is the land use accessory dwelling unit bill. It's been reported from the House committee, voted out of the Senate, as you can see, almost unanimously reported from the House committee. It has not yet been heard on the floor, but it is on the general House calendar, which means it can be brought up. And then these are just a few that we talked about last time. Not a lot of movement in these bills, mainly because they're the super preemption bills, not as much movement because they're getting kind of behind House Bill 2127, which is the big bill. These are more specific bills. As you see, they're still pending or just sitting in committees. Senate bills 976, 77, and 78 are those bills that redefine debt for cities and how you hold tax rate elections and adoption of tax rates related to debt. Those are still pending in Senate committees, not likely to move forward at this point. Not likely, always possible. The same with SB 946, House Bill 187. As you see there, it's being held on the Senate intent calendar and pending in committee. So not movement there. SB 224, which is the public safety catalytic converter bill. As you see there, is well on its way to adoption. The Senate bill is now sitting on the House calendar, and so likely to see movement on that. And as you can see, it actually passed the Senate unanimously. So that's a terrific bill that gives our public safety officers some more teeth in terms of catalytic converter thefts. There is a host of bills that I won't kind of go into details on, but if you do have a specific bill or questions on kind of what's going to happen in the next 2 weeks, certainly let me know. And then, of course, great places to get information is the TML legislative update or visiting the Texas legislature online and learning how a bill becomes a law. And that's it.
Any questions for Jessica?
Thanks, Jessica.
Yeah. Thank you. Tomball has as a present in the legislative session this year, and it has been a good thing. It has been a good thing. Tomball, today we were told by our congressman's office that said the bills that we're concerned of, 3 or 4 of them aren't going to pass, aren't going to be voted on in this session. So we've had several organizations that have also gotten involved, Republican women organizations, and so it's been a good thing. That's how you get laws changed and protect your town, is get involved. So anybody who would like to, organizations out there. All right, good job. Jessica does a great job of keeping us informed and telling us how a bill gets through. I'm surprised anything gets passed. She's done a great job. Okay, now we're going to talk about private detention ponds.
Mayor, Council, due to the recent rains, Councilman Townsend asked for this item to be on the agenda. No doubt that with private detention ponds and then more development happens, then these are going to be continual items that we have to keep up with and to just keep in compliance. One of the things that we do see from time to time, these detention ponds do go out of their regular maintenance and operations, and they can pose certain threats. So we put the item on the agenda for further discussion.
I just have been contacted by a couple of different people. There's an apartment complex here in town that's got a detention pond, that they don't maintain it properly. It's been too bank full, started actually spilling over into some people's properties. City went out and talked to them, and finally I was out there one day and they actually had 2 guys sitting in the truck. They said they're not getting in the water because the water's too deep. Because the electrical panel is underwater. Well, that tells me that it's not functioning properly. But I just want to get everybody's opinion and maybe give staff some direction that these habitual problem places, and this place is a habitual problem, that we let them know that we're not going to put up with it anymore. Because you're talking about flooding out residential's properties. There's no spillway on this particular location. There should be a spillway so that it doesn't go to brimful and then overflow. It's above and beyond capacity, and I think there's a couple of more. I think there's one over on Persimmon. There's a couple of places over there that are not very well maintained, that have got trees growing in them and bushes and shrubs and all kinds of stuff. There's one over by the post offices. It's the same way. People are going to put those things in. They need to maintain them, in my humble opinion. And I think we need to give staff direction that if we have habitual abusers, that they don't keep them up. I understand every once in a while something goes out. I'm not belly aching about those, but I am belly aching about those people that every time we get a substantial amount of rain, I get phone calls. That's troublesome. And it's not just 1 or 2 people calling me, it's numerous people, because they know that I will act and react. So I just, like I said, I'd like to make sure that we give staff some guidance on, because there's a $2,000 a day penalty for not taking care of your stuff. And maybe we need to enact that if that's the case. So I kind of just wanted to throw it out there for you guys to talk about it and see what y'all's feelings were, or how y'all wanted to deal with it.
Do we want to put this on a workshop or an agenda item, or wait for the city to come back with a suggestion?
I think just giving staff guidance, we're not taking action on it, just simply trying to get everybody's
Going
idea.
forward, what
Yeah.
would you like
I
to
mean,
do?
I thought we already had things in place for private detention ponds that we talked about a few years ago.
Correct. And as I was about to say, kind of give an update on that. If you remember, we did kind of formulate a mission, for lack of better words, to just really focus on detention ponds for about a few years ago. There were several that were out of compliance for years that weren't working, and so a lot of those did get into compliance. And then obviously when that mission comes to a close, we started to try to focus on something else. So it's just time to do a mission again.
Okay.
And just keep that inventory, because it's a cycle.
Okay.
And I assume when we're saying detention pond, we're referring to where water collects around some type of development. Is that correct?
Correct. Because they have to have a controlled discharge to equal to the rate that was there prior to development.
And we're not talking about ponds in general.
Correct,
Okay.
correct.
If you got a man-made pond out there for cattle or something like that, that's not considered a retention or detention pond.
That's,
Clarified.
Yeah.
that's a good point, because no, the only thing that we would have to make sure that they comply is we approved a design for that detention or holding back of stormwater, and that's what we would be making sure that that still operates.
Yeah, all these detention ponds are on flats.
Right, exactly. But I just want to make sure that I want my phone calls to go down, because I am getting phone calls about.
Well, like what you said earlier tonight about a couple businesses that are. I personally want to discuss maybe in the future, our enforcement and, why aren't these things being followed up? And that because residents expect it and I expect it as well.
Can you also include on that, an update on some of the troublesome drainage areas like Surrey Court and such like that, that people can't leave their house and because of the drainage issues? Is it something we can even get involved in, or is it a private matter? It would be really help on understanding that. Someone builds their house below street level, yeah, it's gonna flood. But there seems like there may be something in the that we could do. I want to make sure we have a clear understanding of what we can and can't do.
And a lot of
No,
those
that's a-
situations are
that's true.
budgetary. I mean, obviously, those things, the things that were done in the past to try to fix those, and as development happens,
Mhm.
it's a budgetary item to consider. And yeah, the level of service is definitely something that we talk about, and we can talk about during budget or separately. Because code compliance is exactly that. It's one of those, it's a level of service of what we had in the past and what the expectation is moving forward. So yes, absolutely, we definitely can.
Okay.
Well, my hat's off to y'all for your Belmont, the feed out there. Y'all did a heck of a job taking care of those folks, and I want to thank you and all you folks that were involved in Belmont, because that really did stop a lot of the problems we were getting over there.
And I will say, with all the rain that we've had, used to, Persimmon would have been a river. And it's holding good.
It's a stream now.
That now it's clear. You don't have water over the road.
No. Definitely needed.
It's good stuff.
Are there any? At any areas we're not aware of, just so we're aware of any problem flooding areas. Almost supposed to be the highest part in the county. And we are. We don't want to.
Succumb.
We don't want to succumb. So we want our development to cause issues. So. Okay. All right. Next item is executive session. City Council will meet in executive session as authorized by Title 5, Chapter 551, Government Code, Texas Open Meetings Act for the following purpose: consultation with city attorney regarding matters which attorney duties requires to be discussed in closed session, personnel matters, deliberation of the appointment, employment, and duties of public officer, employee, city manager, and deliberations regarding economic development. So we will be going into we're going into executive session. It is 8:35 p.m. When we come back from executive session, we will be taking no action except adjournment, but you're welcome to stay if you'd like to. We are back from executive session at 8:55 PM. We're now back. Is there a motion to
So moved.
adjourn?
Second.
Okay,
Aye.
discussion.
No.
Okay, call for the vote.
Just you looking at it, just like you looking at it, now that it's 7.